Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we'll Masech this Yevamot Daf Kuf. We are going to begin on Kuf Hamad Aleph, about 8 lines from the top, the Kulon. So this is going back on what we learned yesterday, that there were 10 individuals that we do not divide Truma in the basic Ranais, and it gave a whole list of them, including a woman. It gave 2 reasons for it in the Nafkamina. And then it says, V'kulon mishagrin lehen levatehem. For all of them, it can be gathered for their house. Okay, so that's what we're going to discuss now. It says, for all of these people in the list, it could be collected for the people in the house. So, Orel, when it comes to someone who does not have a bris milah, we do. So, my time, what is the reason why? Mishum the honest, the fact that he doesn't have a bris milah, it's not his fault. He had brothers that died. So Tami Nami honest. Maybe also when it comes to Tameh, why do we kanas him? That he wasn't careful. Why don't we say it's just an inus? So Hai Nafish Einse, says Rashi, Shemeso Echav. We're talking about a situation, one situation is where his brother died, V'hai Lo Nafish Oinse. And the other case is where there was no oinus. Tarabanan. To Eved va'isha, when it comes to an Eved and a woman, in Chayklin hen Truma basic granos, so those were 2 of the 10. However, Makam Shecholkin, in a place where it is divided, Nois L'isha Tchila, we give to the woman first, Upaitrin Osa Miad. Then she leaves. So my karma, what exactly is this saying? Says Rashi, Katani first you wrote in Chok, you don't divide it up with them, and then it says in a place where they do divide. So Hakamar, but Malcolm Shecholk in Meiser, it's not talking about Truma. Truma we don't divide, but in a place where Meiser is divided, or more specifically Meiser Ani, Noisla Ish Tchil, we give to the woman first. My tamim mishum zilusa, because it's degrading and lowly. And this is what Rashi says, Ein kan mishum yichud, d'shlich inish noisel ish t'chila mishum dezila bo milsel mekum. So it's not an issue of yichud, and still you're supposed to give to the woman first. Omer Rabbi, Mareisha, originally ki havi yasu gabra v'itzasel ladina. When a man and a woman would both come to court, Rashi says, Zed toveya baldina, v'zed tovas baldina, ben hadin ben shneim, they're not fighting with one another in 2 different cases. So Ladina Kamoy Havi Sharina. I used to judge the first one. Tigra de Gavra Beresha Amina de Machai b'mitzvahs. So I used to say maybe I should judge the first one being the man because he has mitzvahs to do. Kivan de Shemanu hu Sharina Tigra de Isasa Beresha. Once I heard that you're supposed to give these items to the woman first, my time in Mishum Zilusa. Because of that, also when she comes to a court, I'm going to end up seeing her case first. And then it said in our Mishnah, Higdilu Hataruvos. So again, this is a situation where you had a Kohen and a Shivcha, and they ended up having, there was a child that we don't know if it belongs to the Shivcha, the Kohen, so it's a suffix. So when they grow up, we say that these 2 children should be freed. Shichru boy in boy loy ilo boy lo. It's mashma. It's your choice. V'yamai lisa shivcha enu yochel baschar enu yochel. The problem is, as we said, because we don't know if it's a kayin or if it's a shivcha, they're not going to be able to get married. So that's a big problem. And in Masechtas Chagiga, they then quote the pasuk lo yisalu shemes yitzra, that a person isn't created except in order to be able to have children. And if these people aren't able to get married, that's a big problem. So Marava, Ema, you're right. Kaif and Aisan, we actually will have them freed by force. Meshachrin Zedzeh. Nicely Chaimri, so he said we take upon themselves the different stringencies. So my hilchasa. So Marpapa will minchasam, when it comes to a mincha offering, nikmetzes, kamitza is done kaminchas Yisrael. Because if Yisrael brings a carbon mincha, so then you're supposed to separate and do a kmitza. However, the rest of it, the shirayim, is given over to the kohen. But because we don't know if this person's maybe himself is a kohen, and a kohen is supposed to be kol tokta, completely burned on the mizbech, ve'enu nechel, so it's not burned. Keminchas kohanim. So haketzad, hakoymitz, the one who does the kmitza, kar ba'atzmo, he should do the hakrava of the kmitza, v'ashirayim karevo atzman, and do the shirayim separately. Ikri kan, if he's a Yisrael, kol shimimenu ishim harihu b'bal taktiru. It's also to sacrifice the shirayim if he's a Yisrael. So how is it shach to say that we're going to burn the shirayim? And the shirayim are only burned if it's a kohen, but this is a Yisrael, it's supposed to be eaten by the kohen. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, demasakul shum eitzim, Rabbi Lezer. It's allowed to be done if it's done l'shem eitzim. It's just like you're putting firewood. It's not l'shem the shirayim. The sign Rabbi Lezer Omer, l'rech nichayach iatamala. You're not allowed to bring it up as a carbon. There's a rech nichayach avalatamalu shum eitzim for what it's allowed. So Anich Rabbi Lezer, who has this leniency, el rabbanon malkim Eimer. The answer is David like Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Shimon, who's that? The son of Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon Omer, hakoymitz. When it comes to the shirayim, mispazrin al beis hadeshen. It should be spread around the beis hadeshen. The afil rabban leplikot Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Shimon el b'minchas chayte shel kohanim. It's only if the offering is a minchas chayte of kohanim to basak ravihi, because if it's the kohen that brings it, it's all supposed to be brought up. But even in the situation, even the rabbanon will be moida. So this answers our question, which is question 3. Be'elu beis chatois. What are the two sin offerings in which the din is mitzinu sha'kaimitz karvel atzma v'shirayim atzman o mispazrin al beis hadeshen. So as we see, when it comes to the kohen who brings his minchas chayte, so that's what's done. Alternatively, the mincha of this person who's a suffik kohen, suffik Yisrael, because he was freed. So the question is, what do we do with that mincha offering? Okay. Next Mishnah. Mishlo shahasachar baal shloisha chadashim. So a person got divorced, or let's say her husband died, either way, but she didn't wait the 3 months before she got remarried, and she's pregnant. V'nises v'yolda v'eniyodua im ben tisha rishon im ben shivla acharon. So we don't know this child, is it a 9-month-old baby belonging to her first husband, or is it a 7-month and it's the second husband? So this child is a suffix, is it the first husband or the second? So let's say she had other children from the first and second husband. So, and let's say the suffix dies, in that situation, chalitza is done, but not yibum, because each one, it's possible, again, if let's say this boy who was a suffix, got married to someone, then he died childless, we're not going to have him that would do yibum, because it might not be his brother, but we don't want to have him do nothing, so therefore we do chalitza. So too, if let's say this vadai brother dies, so the suffix will only do chalitza, because it may not be his brother. So chalitza vel miyam, as we continue to kuf amud beis. So let's say there are brothers from the first husband and also from the second husband. However, they're not from the same mother. So in that situation, chalitza or yibum could be done. And if the suffix dies, also chalitza or yibum can be done. Rashi explains them in Manoshach. Liachar ben harishain im echavhu haritoiv. So if the reality is that it's his brother, that's good. V'im lav nachrasi, then it's just like a woman who's not related to him. There's only this brother. The leikos svuk be yevamot shuk. So because he's the only person, so he can do yibum, it's not a problem. Hayu echad Yisrael v'echad kohen. What if one husband is a kohen, one is a Yisrael, and again the children are all mixed up? So similar to what we saw in the previous Mishnah, because we don't know if it's a Kohen or Yisrael, like we said, we don't know if it's a Kohen or a Shivcha, child of a Shivcha, Noisa Isha Royal Kohen can marry only a woman who's fit to a Kohen. In other words, not a Gerusha. Then Matamul Amesim, you can't become Tami because it may be a Kohen. Vim Nitma Enu Sefik Azarbayim. We don't give a Malchus because maybe he's a Yisrael. Enu Eichel Betruma because he may be Yisrael. Vim Achel Enu Misham Karen B'chaimish because he may be a Kohen. Venu Choylek Al Garin. We're not going to allow him to collect in the silo for Truma. Umaycher HaTruma V'Adamim Shalai. However, if he collects the Truma, it's his. And he has a Hamoitza Mechaver Varaya because he can say, prove that I'm not a Kohen. So he's not going to eat it, but he can at least sell it, because as Suffolk he may not be a Kohen, but he can at least sell it to a Kohen, and therefore he can keep the proceeds. We don't divide up Kodshei Kedoshim with him. We don't give him Kodshim. However, we're not going to take that which is his out of his hands. He's pater from giving the mop on the jaw because a Kohen doesn't have to separate this. It goes to the Kohen. If it's his Bechor, you have Royat Shistayev and Shistayev. So you have the animal graze until it gets a blemish. And we take upon themselves the stringencies on both sides. Fine. Now the next case. Hayushneim Kohanim. Let's say both husbands are Kohanim, so the child's definitely a Kohen, we just don't know to which one. So who oinein alehem v'heim oinein alav? Let's say the son will have to be an oinein for the father, and the father's will be an oinein for him. They'll mourn for him. Who einu matam alehem v'heim einu matam aloi. However, even though it could be an oinein, but they're not going to become tummy from each other because you're only supposed to be tummy for your own child. Hu enu yarish oisan. The son will not be yarish them. Avahim yarish oiso, but they will be yarish him. Says Rashi, hu enu yarish oisan. V'havi moment multiple suffix b'cholken ben shneim, because there are other brothers over here. So the other brothers are going to say, you're a Suffolk brother, and we're Vadai Yarish. So we say that when it comes to moment of multiple Suffolk, Cholken ben Shneim. Okay. Fine. Fine. Avolheim Yarshinoi, so Pater al Makasoi val Kolosso Shel Zeh v'Shel Zeh. That if you would hit one of these fathers, he's not going to be chayv for cursing or for hitting, because it may not be his father. If the families belong to a different of the 24 mishmaros that serve in the Beis HaMikdash, so he can serve in both. However, he's not going to really benefit because he won't be able to get anything. Rashi says, he's allowed to work. However, each mishmar can push him off and say, no, you belong to the other mishmar. So he's not going to get anything, but at least he'll be able to do the avoda. If both of the two men in question belong to the same mishmar, so we know for sure he belongs to that mishmar, so he should be able to get a chelik. Doesn't need to know who his father is, as long as he has to know that they both belong to the same mishmar. Now this Gemara we see so many times. Always when we say this order, it's exact. First you have to do chalitza, then yibum. You can't do yibum first because maybe you're doing yibum to the wrong one. Omer Shmuel, Asar Kohanim Oimdin, 10 Kohanim standing. Upirish Echmehen, one separates. Uvoil Havlad Shtuki. So the child will be a shtuki, says Rashi. V'kashahu, the child will be a kasher. To pshita one the ben kayin haba panuyahu. We know it's definitely a Kohen who had relations with a panuya. We just don't know which one it is, so therefore the child's a shtuki. So my shtuki, what does he mean he's silent? Which usually just means that we don't know who the father is. Now, ilema shemit Shatkim Osam Nechse Aviv, does it mean that he doesn't get the money from his father? Pshita miyadina navua manhu. We don't know who the father is. Obviously, he's not going to get any money. There's 10 men over here. We don't know. It's one of the 10. This is pre-DNA testing. Ella, what does it mean we silent? Shemishat kin oisai medin kahuna. Maybe we silence him from kahuna. Says Rashi, molavoida voida. We don't allow him to do the avoida. Says Rashi, v'afal gav del inin yuchsin lisa isha kasherhu pasul avoida. Even though he's allowed to marry a kosher woman, but he's still considered to be pasul to do the avoda. My time, summer krab haisel zara charav binyan zara miyuchas achar v'leika. There has to be this yichus, as Rashi acharav shenikr zara shehu shalo. You have to be able to specifically say this is the father. Maskevora papa el miyata gabi Avraham dechsiv uyosecha elokim uzarcha acharecha. So when it comes to Avraham, hasam maika mazher le rachmana. What exactly is the Torah warning? Says Rashi, Hoyel v'hu acharav kadarsh le inyan psul kahuna hachamai psul kadarsh be. What's talking about psul kahuna? Vadai gabi Yisrael kashehu k'goyin asar ksherim oimdim b'pir shechem mehem uvoyel. So what exactly is that talking about over there by Abraham? Maika mizr le rachmana. So hachikam le lo tinsav avoidis kochavim. Do not marry a non-Jew or an idol worshiper. B'shivcha dul lezel zarch basra. So that the children will not go after her. As Rashi says, according to the Gemara in Kedushin, Shivcha Havlad Kemoha. Dechsev Isha Viladet, etc. Ve'in bincha haba min avodas kachavim kor bincha el binah. We know that when it comes to the relationship of a non-Jewish woman to a Jewish man, the child is not Jewish, and therefore he's being warned: don't go after an avodas kachavim or shivcha, because it'll affect your children. Meisvei, let's say Rishon, did Yibum. Rishon royal yos kohen gadol. It says the first one's fit to be a kohen gadol. Says Rashi, Heicha shemiyavim eishes achiv b'toich gimel. If let's say you did Yibum within the 3 months, v'yolda suffik ben tesla rishon, suffik ben tesla rishon la'ushiva la'acharon b'per kachoylitz. It says that this child can still be like a kohen gadol. We just said that he can't even do the avoda as a regular kohen, so we're going to say he's roy lios kohen gadol. The truth is, this is din d'Rabbanan. The only time we make this gezerah that he can't do the avodas if it was znus, like our case. Benesuin, which was through yibum, loy gaz Rabbanan. Was nosmi gaza or Rabbanan? Did they really make a gezerah? But tanan mishlo shahasa achar bala shloisha chadashim. Person didn't wait 3 months. And he says he got married. It doesn't say znos, got married. Yolda my achar bala ilay ma achar misa. So what is it? It says, what does it mean achar bala? That she didn't wait 3 months after Bala. What does that mean? My achar bala. Ile ma achar misas bala. She didn't wait within 3 months of her husband dying. Ema seifa. Hu oinin alehem vein oinin alav. Now bishlama hu oinin alehem. I understand that the son should be an oinin for the father. Mishkachas la benesuin desheni v'likat samos tekama. We're talking about a situation where the marriage of the second and the gathering of the remains of the first. What exactly mean the other way around for this suffix that they mourn for him? After all, kalma hamesle. I thought we said that he's dead. So it can't be the case that she married the guy after she married the second guy within 3 months of her first husband's death, because that wouldn't fit into the seifa. The ela begrusha. Maybe it means after she got divorced, so she had she's supposed to wait 3 months. My achar bala, achar get bala. Again, him seifa. Who in matam lehem, v'heim in matam in loy. So they can't become tummy for each other. Now, bishlam mehein in matam in lo. I understand that they can't become tummy for this boy, They can't become tamei because maybe this is not their son. So a kohen can't be tamei for someone who's not one of his zayin kroivim. Elahu ein matam lehem amai. Why can't the suffix become tamei for these men? Bishlam l'sheni lo. By the second one, I understand why. Lo l'tamile. I understand why. El rishon l'tamile memanoshach. Why? Why the first one? Iberehu shaper kumatamile. If in fact this is the son, so the son did okay by becoming tame. The ibar bartahu shaper kumatamile. The cholhu. And you look at it this way, that if really we're talking about this, it's the second one is the father, so it's not a problem because he's a chol. Elola biznos. So my acher bo'ala, within 3 months of having tashmish. It says that they're allowed to do avoda. So the Mishnah said the seifa. He can go to each other's mishmor, and they can't stop him, which is a Tiyuftin Shmuel who says that no, in this situation they can't. They cannot do the avoda. So Shmaya b'mamenes. We're talking about a situation of miyun, says Rashi. Oilam b'znos. We're really talking about znos. Oilam b'znos lo mitoikma. That we cannot establish. The hapsul avoida. If it was znos, it would be possibly avoida. V'lo matzilu misnai oil mishmar shel zeh v'shel zeh. You wouldn't be able to say that he could work at each mishmar because if it was a product of znos, then you would not be able to. He saw both of them die. The kohen kosherhu b'mamenes yisayma. We're talking about a situation where this woman who was a yisayma was married as a katana, and she wishes to do miyun. Shemi'ana bebalwa, she did miyun. And then she did not wait 3 months, and then she got married. That's the situation. B'mamenes. So mamenes mika yolda. But if she's a katana, can she give birth? Vatani Rabbi b'kamei Rav Nachman sholosh nashim mishamshes b'moich. 3 of them wear this special contraption to protect them from getting pregnant. A katana, a muberes, a manika. So katana, like this girl, which we're talking about, kashematis aber, the tomus, because if she gets pregnant, she will die. So it can't be possible. We're talking about a case where it's mamenes and then she got married and she had this child. And we don't know if she was, who's the child from. Muberes Shem, so we just continue this. Muberes Shematasa Uber Sandal, because maybe the child can die. Menika Shematigmos Benaviyomos, by weaning this child, which really still needs the mother's milk, will die. So ve'ezu hi katana mibas achas esri shanaviyom echad abas shteim esri shanaviyom echad, between 11 and 12. Pachais mikan o yaser mikain mishameshes kedarka v'hoylechas. She will she will just have tashmish regularly. Divra Meir. Chacham omrim achazu v'achazu b'mameshes kedarka v'hoylechas. They're constantly just without a moich. Menashemayim yirachamu. And they may get pregnant. So Hashem has mercy on them. Hashem protects the foolish. So the question is, l'chayra, again, it seems to be problematic. My answer is, mishkachas lo b'kedushi tois, says Rashi, al tanai vo neskayim. Actually, we're talking about a situation where it was never a kedushin to begin with. Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel, Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel, Mishum Rabbi Shmuel, v'hilu nespasa, asura. In the event that she was seduced and she did not reject, then she's asur. Hanispasa muteris. But if she rejected, then she's muter because it was against her will. Even if she did not protest, she's still muter. That was a mistake. If she has a child on her shoulder, we still allow her to do mean. Which again, there was 3 opinions how old a woman could do miyun, but according to this opinion, that's what it says. Okay. Question, we'll stop there. Question 4. Mishul sha'asa achar bala gimel chadashim. Person did not wait 3 months from her first husband. The Haim, fine. Hayushneim Kohanim. It says if they're both Kohanim. Haim oininim olav, hu enim atamelhem, etc. Oil b'mishmaro. Heichem ishkachas l'deroya b'misa shnehem. How do we understand that they both died? V'koyin kosher hu afil avoida, and that this child is still going to be is kosher. It can't be talking about a situation where it was znus, because the child, as we established, like Shmuel, that the child would be puzzled to the avoida. The answer is Shekit Sharishan Kedushi Tois, that the first marriage was a mistake. Yatsa below get, and she went without a get. Gimel, and she ended up marrying this second person, B'toich Gimel, and therefore that is what it's talking about, and therefore the product of that relationship, that child, will be kosher to do the avoda. TA 23. Kohenes Shinis Arev Vlada, Heich Hakrava Shal Hakaimetz Veshirayim Shal Havlad, who's Suffolk Kayan. So this is what we saw really similar to question 3, which is TA 23. Let's see how he writes it. He says, either we're talking about the Kmitza Karv Atzma B'Shrayim Atzmo, and it was done L'Shem Eitzim, or your Kaimetz Karv Atzma B'Shrayim Mispazrin Al Beis Hadeshen. So that is another possibility. So this is actually a different question than question 3. So either it was because it says Oreich Nechoyach Iatamala Aval Atamala Shum Eitzim. Alternatively, it's we said that Kaimetz is Karv Atzma B'Shrayim Mispazrin Al Beis Hadeshen. So therefore, you're right. It's not being makrav on the mizbeach. Okay. Question. That was question TA 23. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we didn't do 24. Let's see if we have TB. TB 24. Koyin vadai she'en yadua bevadai miya aviv hi'im kashul avoida. So it's not so posh. If you have a koyin vadai she'en yadua bevadai miyu aviv, but he doesn't know. We know he's a koyin because there's two men who are kohanim, but he doesn't know which one is a koyin. Is he kosher to the avoda? So we ended up saying it really depends. If it's znus, then there are guys who are rabbanon, and therefore he's not allowed to do avoda. He has, however, it's been nesuin. Let's say, as we saw over here, for example, by yibum. So in that situation, if yibum was done, and then this is a product of this relationship, because it was not done through znus, so then the child will be kosher to the avoda. This is on Kuf Omid Beis, and let's just get the language over here, because the question is Rishon Royli is Kohen Gadol, we said. So we end up saying, let's see, V'chi Gazer Rabbanan B'Znus B'Nesuin Lo Gazer Rabban, because the whole pasuk actually was only, it's an asmachta. It's not an actual din deraisa, and therefore the only time it's a problem is if it was for znus. However, in the event that it was for nesuin, then the rabbanan are not geyser, and therefore the child will be kosher le'avoda. Ad kan.